Halliwax here, back in the shed. I got Anakin Starkiller with me,
Hey everybody.
and we have his salt shaker saber here. And he sent one over for me to check out, and I wanted him to be here while I did this because I don't know very much about it.
Okay.
So I'm
So,
going to open this, and you walk us through what's going on here.
all right. So this is like one of those weird prompts that like people know about but can't quite place in the films because it might not have showed up there. But in episode one, right, Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't get a lightsaber like the one that we remember from the classic Star Wars. Instead, he has some brand new design, right? And this is Ewan McGregor's lightsaber that he uses as young Obi-Wan Kenobi. In at the end of the movie, it seems like he might have lost it in the duel with Darth Maul, but by episode two, we see he gets it back, right? So this is his design that he's going to keep throughout the prequel series. Originally, as the story goes, um, Revenge of the Sith was going to tell a subplot where Obi-Wan loses his lightsaber that is a little bit different from the Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace version, and then either builds a new one or acquires the Episode 4 style saber from General Grievous's collection. I've heard it both ways. So we know about this version of the prompt because there are a bunch of pre-production images with Ewan having it on his belt when they were doing uh, video testing and lighting. And then also we have videos that show Ewan fighting with it, right? So
Yeah,
presumably there was going to be, at least he was going to deal with it at some point. And so what it is a modified version of the episode one, episode two prop, where there were little changes like an added emitter flange on the front. The red button is now a copper button. Some of the shapes and of all the parts are a little bit different because they were remachined, but there were also you could tell that there was some conscious choice put into the idea that this was an evolved version of the prop. This was like after he had been through the Clone Wars, his lightsaber has sort of grown up and changed.
wow.
So the way it's
Oh,
going to come to you is as a kit, right? I mean, it is largely assembled, but there are different options with the kit. You can assemble it in an episode two style, or you can assemble it in a Revenge of the Sith style. What Danny just pulled out is largely the Revenge of the Sith style because it has the Revenge of the Sith emitter cap and it has the Revenge of the Sith pommel. Those are two interchangeable parts. Also, there's going to be two different versions of the LEDs. There's a Revenge of the Sith and an Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace version of the LEDs. And then there's a copper button, which is correct for Revenge of the Sith, and a red anodized button with the inverse knurling that everybody knows about if you're into the Phantom Menace props, that you can put into the assembly if you want the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones version. Danny, you don't have that red button with you right now. They're at my
good.
folks' place. I have to add them to all the boxes before they ship, but I wanted you to get this early.
You got a lot of pieces here, man.
Yeah.
I just unboxed the. This is looks like a pommel cap, a static.
So, so there are two pommel caps that are going to come that are not part of it. One of them is the vented Revenge of the Sith pommel for when you FX it, but the other one is the Attack of the Clones pommel. One of the major differences that I see in the shape of the two different lightsabers from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith is that the Attack of the Clones pommel was a lot more sort of bulbous, and the Revenge of the Sith one sort of shrank. So when I was having these parts machined, I thought to myself, if it was for the pommel cap and the emitter, basically you would be able to build this into something that looks exactly like the EFX prototype, right? Basically, like what you're seeing when they were showing off, saying like this is what we built, replicating what was in the archive. The major differences for the Revenge of the Sith version are that the it has different LEDs, different red button versus copper button, and then it's got the different emitter and the different cap. So I included both of those in it so that people would have options to how they want to build it, or to like put it as a like a gun with parts, right? Where like imagining Obi-Wan swap them out. Sometimes if he went on one mission, he had one set, and sometimes he went on the other mission, he had another set. That's kind of how I was always thought of like Han's blasters, right? As like different versions of the same gun.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of caps.
Yeah.
There's a lot. All right, so here's the LEDs and the O-ring. Couple LEDs in here, some LED bulbs, a red one, an O-ring.
Mhm. So you got a red LED that goes inside of the brass valve, and then the white LEDs go inside of the chrome LEDs. You're missing three of the flat top LEDs that'll be included in the kit for everybody else, Danny, and I'll obviously send them to you. Those are to be used in the Phantom Menace LED styles if you wanted to do that. The Phantom Menace versions and the Attack of the Clones versions are the ones that are machined out of aluminum. The Revenge of the Sith LEDs are the ones that are machined out of chrome steel.
So this is the FX pommel with the hidden sound
Yeah,
venting
so
holes.
right. So instead it's putting like direct holes in the bottom of it, which I think are pretty noticeable. I put like little slices in the side of the
Yeah,
pommel to allow sound venting, but like really you kind of have to look dead on at it to be able to see the holes.
I agree with you on that. Wow. All right, so here I am in the last bag with all the greeblies here. Wow. All right, so there's two different sets of the copper button looks awesome. This looks awesome, man.
So
Look at
some people,
this.
everybody's copper button is going to look a little bit different because it's raw copper, and I didn't have it anodized, or I mean not anodized, but I didn't have it like sealed or anything like that. So you will notice like some discoloration, oxidation, like if you have like your mother's copper pots, like they're always like turning a little
Yep,
bit of colors. It's just the nature of the material. The reason why I didn't like clear coat it or something like that to lock in a particular color is because I wanted people to be able to polish it up and have it bright, shiny, and new, and then cover it in a clear coat and keep it if they want it. But if they want, like it looks in the archives, right, I would polish it a little bit, and then I would like let it sit for a week and let the oxidation sort of turn it like that old penny color, which you see in like when the Saber goes on tour now. And then hit that with a clear coat if you want to lock it in, or just keep it as raw copper and polish it from time to time. I kind of like that option too because it makes it feel more like a lived-in sidearm.
so my question is these bezels here
Yep.
with the 3D printed part, what's that all about? I don't know anything about this.
So the chrome bezels that you have in your hand there are the ones that came on the Saber that were on the Saber when it was made for Revenge of the Sith. The
Okay,
little
okay.
aluminum ones are the ones that were on the Saber when it was in Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones.
I got you now because of the tops. When I just
Yep.
turned the thing to the side, I saw the tops. It's got the different, yeah. So this
Yep.
one, yep, yep. Wow. And then the LEDs sit inside here.
Yep.
Now, for the screen accurate ones, they sanded the LED down.
So for the Revenge of the Sith one, they're just kind of sunk in a little bit, right? So when you put the LED and you just don't push it all the way to the top, and then you affix it with like a little bit of glue,
Okay,
keep it at the right space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload all my reference photos to a blog post on At Star's End so that people can
okay,
see all the different versions because there's at least like three of the Revenge of the Sith props that are on tour. There was one that went up to auction recently, and there are two that tour in the Lucasfilm exhibits. So there's multiple versions of that. And then the Attack of the Clones saber, I'll post the references we have for that, although we don't have a lot of really good ones. Most of them are just publicity photos on Ewan's belt.
I don't actually. So these three bezels go up here.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and they just screw in. What I would do, Dan, before you unscrew them, or before you screw them in, is unscrew the top, just to release like the tension on everything.
So this is the new part that you had machined?
So no, it was actually the main body sleeve. There was
Okay,
I had made I had referenced a particular version of the Saber when I was doing the main body sleeve on the initial design, and then I realized it didn't actually match the ones that were in the Lucasfilm archives or sold by Prop Store, which are the ones people are going to want the most.
yeah.
It actually was designed based off of the one that this stunt trainer from California he owns a version of the prop that was a fighting version, and has some differences to the body design. And so I had the center part remachined, and I also had the caps added on, the different stunt versions of the caps and the Attack of the Clones caps, because I wanted people to have different options with the kit.
So this one here, would be the stunt version, right? This
That's
one
the stunt version for if you for FX.
for
So
FX.
there's a 3 millimeter screw hole in the side where
Yeah, hidden.
people for plate retention. Yeah.
And now this one here would be episode one FX.
That is episode one, episode two FX. And if you use that one, then the blade retention screws are 2 millimeter screws on the inside of the black space.
Yeah, right. 2 millimeter screws here.
Exactly.
Wow.
So if you're ever going to do any dueling, you're going to want to at least use the Revenge of the Sith emitter because the FX ones on the Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace version are quite small.
So now another thing I want to talk about too is the copper button. You have
Yep.
this set up to actually function as a button.
Yeah, there are three parts. There's the copper button, then there's a sleeve that like can slide three, and then there's like free, and then there's like a little nut on the bottom
Yes.
without any grip on. So if you unscrew them, you can create some wiggle room. And the center sleeve is what screws into the body, and that
Yep.
allows like the copper button to sort of float if you want it, and so you can use it as a tack switch.
Yeah, if you could put a spring, a pen spring in there, then you're gonna.
Or if when you're when you're building your chassis or whatever, you just put the LED like, or I mean, you put the tack switch right underneath it, and then just let
Yep.
it bang against it. Yeah.
I had to loosen up the bike valve. There we go. Wow. So there's really like very little assembly required. I mean,
So what you're gonna want to do when you get like so the black anodized parts should all be completely finished, nothing to worry about. The silver colored aluminum parts are fresh off the machine because that's how they were on the original prop. I didn't want to do any like post-secondary processing um or like anodizing because like that would change the look of the original thing. So what you're going to want to do when you get those parts, right, is first of all probably hit them with some like the red Scotch-Brite or hit it with some steel wool, like a 000 steel wool, just to like even out the brushing on it because that's how the original piece was. There's a bunch of different auctions. The Saber's gone on tour a couple of years, and there's a couple auction versions that show this in different levels of polish, right? So
yeah.
sometimes you have sort of more of like a matte brushed finish. Sometimes you have a more polished finish. So it's really like up to you, what you want to go with when you build it.
Wow.
Like a little bit of steel wool and like a little bit of you know, the like metal polish can get it shinier or less depending upon what version of the saber you're trying to copy.
What kind of orientation do I need for this cover tech in these? I didn't.
It changes in different versions. I'll upload all the pictures, but like if you want to do the Attack of the Clones version or the two different versions that the prop shows up at, like when it pro shows up at prop shop or when it's the Lucasfilm archives, it's in different orientations.
Wow. This, this is beautiful, man. Beautiful. It's all anodized.
Mhm.
So now this is all right. So this is the Revenge of the Sith dome.
Yeah.
This is the Revenge of the Sith. This is the episode two.
Yeah. Episode one, episode two, and Revenge of the Sith are different shapes.
Like drastically different, huh?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I figured it was worth going for. And it looks like a different prop when you put the different end caps on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it really changes the whole look of the saber. If you
Wow.
assemble it in the Attack of the Clones, if you look at the video on Collector's Outpost, right, I had it the same kit assembled in two different ways, and I think when I watched it again, I was like, wow, they really do look like two very different props.
Two different props. Yeah. Wow, man. There's a lot of pieces that comes with this though. And it's all FXable.
Mhm.
Wow. Holy smokes.
So that emitter's a little bit different than the Phantom Menace version because in Attack of the Clones, it sort of stuck out a little bit, like that part. Yeah. if you compare it to like the Phantom Menace version that I did that you have, you'll see it's like much flat. It's much flatter with the flange. It's sort of flange and then washer. Whereas that one, for some reason, it stuck out a little bit farther. I think they modified the design.
And this is a 3 7/8 blade.
Yeah,
Look at that. Wow. Holy cow. I remember seeing pictures of this one, and it's got the green stunt blade coming out of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
He unscrewed it for us and
Hmm.
posted it. Incredible. I love the copper knob, dude.
Isn't it crazy? These are like 20 years old now.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like the promotion that like when we saw this the first time, getting ready for Revenge of the Sith, that was 20 years ago.
I remember that. I remember going to see Revenge of the Sith at midnight. I had to drive like 2 hours away.
I remember there was this promotional video that like leaked on the internet back when the internet was far less developed, and it like had some training clips of Ewan and Hayden, and it had AC/DC's Back in Black like playing over it, right? Because they were like excited that he's gonna get to go in the Darth Vader costume.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
watching it like a million times and just being so jonesed up for the last movie.
A lot of pieces too, huh?
Yep.
Oh, the cover tech.
Yeah.
Did you make those?
So those I found so there's a gentleman that like bought the molds from Covertech, like the injection molding pieces, right? And
Yeah.
like and even though the company that originally produced them doesn't produce them anymore, he like has bought the rights and the machinery to keep producing them. So I contacted him and he was like, and I said, I just need the wheels. I don't need like all of the assemblies because like if you have one, it works for all the different sabers you got. So I had new wheels produced, but they're with all the original tooling, so they're basically like the same as the found part.
Now, you were saying you recommend buffing this aluminum?
Depending on what kit you get, but like some people might want to. Some people might want to even out the finish here and there.
I don't know. I kind of like it the way it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it depends if you're a fan of something that's more idealized because this version actually they did make some real beauty props where they like polished the shit out of it and like really shined it up and like made it look super fancy. And then there were other ones that were, look like an old vintage piece that was made in the early 2000s with like a nice brushed matte finish. Um,
I just want to say you've gone as far as these must be 3D printed.
mhm.
The black bungs inside the
No,
bezel.
actually those come with those are found parts. They came with it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So now on the real prop, they're in there?
Yeah.
Oh, all
Well, they're
right.
either in there or I mean, what they're meant to do is to hold the LED at the position that you want them in. So whether they had them in there on the inside or whether, they just glued the LED in place, I'm not exactly sure.
Wow. So basically, when I put that black piece in and then put the LED in there, that's probably the right
Yeah.
depth I want, right?
Maybe a little more pushed back. It's not exactly flat, but it's like, yeah, that's probably where you want it to be.
Wow. That's wicked, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check the reference again tonight.
Yeah, I'll post it over the weekend probably, and you'll see there's a couple different versions of the props where like the LED floats around, half a
So,
millimeter one way and half a millimeter the other.
so when are these gonna be in the store?
They're going up on Black Friday, so
Black Friday.
right after Thanksgiving, you can log on to at Star's End and pick these up. And I'm also going to list some other stuff that are kits that were sold out, but maybe I had one or two left in stock. And so I'm gonna try to throw them up all on the website and clear out my apartment and my parents' basement.
Wow. Yeah, wow. I remember you coming up and showing me the prototype in the summer.
Yeah, it
It was
was a while
92
ago.
degrees in the shed that day. Now it's like 30.
I know. I know.
So it actually, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels heavier too. Did you?
Uh, Depending on like what the on the emitter and on the end cap, it probably adds like a little bit.
Yeah, it feels heavier.
Hmm.
Unreal. So Black Friday,
Black Friday.
because this has been in the works a while.
It is. Yeah, I got to get those out.
What else can you think about covering?
Next one's gonna be the Sabine saber. Those will go up next. Because I had a couple parts that I have to have remade on them, but they should be done soon. And I don't know what else is next.
You got the Sabine, you got the
I'm got a,
Kenobi just
I
came
got
out.
the, I got the, so I'm continuing in the process of refining all my models for the Phantom Menace. The Qui-Gon will be released probably early in the new year. I just had a second prototype made to just make sure that they dialed in all the machining on the black grip, and they're going to make that for me by the end of the week, and then I'll approve that, and then we can put that in production. So that should be in like, a month or two. And then I'm going to keep going with the episode one set so that, we can have that completed box. And then the next one after that is either going to be the Anakin, which I'm going to probably machine soon because one of the shops I was working with like wants more work very quickly.
Yep.
And then the Dooku is making sure that I can do that.
When you say the Anakin, you're talking about the aluminum Anakin with the.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right,
Aluminum Anakin with like the original cast pieces that are vacuum metallized in chrome for the ears and the emitter.
because you got most of that done now, right?
Yeah, most of that's all done. Yeah, I got all the bits and bobs. I just need the bodies to be machined.
Because I get that
So
message a lot. When are
yeah,
they going
that's
to make
one of
the
them.
Anakin?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I'm working on is with my Dooku, I actually have some of the original grips that were production made for episode three.
Oh wow.
So I'm trying to see whether I can have those cast and then like laser cut to assemble with like the bodies for when I do the Dooku's, or whether I just design it in CAD and have a shop like machine the grips from scratch. Because I mean, they're not. It's not like I mean they're diamonds, right? But like I thought it would be cool if it was like a cast from original piece. So I want to see if that's actually going to be possible, or if it would be a pain in the butt for me.
So Black Friday, the salt shaker goes up on sale, and you're going to restock a few items on there. So hopefully the server holds.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I think
I know there's
we
a lot of people chomping at the bit for this.
Well, I hope they enjoy it, and I hope people like have fun building it. You know, on one hand, there's like a pressure just to start designing for like some of the bigger Chinese companies, because like they ask for designs. But I like making these kits. I like the building part of it, and I like doing the overseeing and making sure everything is dialed in 100%. So as long as people keep like supporting this part of the hobby and like make it something that's worthwhile to produce small runs or to produce kits people assemble with their own hands, that like then I'm going to keep doing it. Like if it becomes a situation where people say like, why buy a kit when I could buy something assembled off Temu, then I'll be like, okay, cool. God bless, and then let the hobby move in that direction.
Yeah. No, I think you're in the right place.
So, all right, Danny, thanks for the video. You want to stop recording?
No, yeah, no problem. Let's sign off. I want to thank you all for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video, and most importantly, be kind to one another. This is Halliwax
And Starkiller.
out.